First of all, I want to apologise for my last video. I made a mistake when I talked about the Barcelona versus Manchester City game. The final score was 2-2, not the result I mentioned in the previous video, so I sincerely apologise for that mistake. Now let's talk about today's game between Barcelona Femení and Brighton Women. And once again, Barcelona showed why they are considered one of the best teams in women's football. Yes, Brighton were the opponent, and on paper Barcelona were clearly the stronger team. But what interested me today wasn't only the result. I wanted to see how this new Barcelona team would perform, especially after the 2-2 draw against Manchester City. And there were some very interesting things to talk about. From the very first minutes, Barcelona immediately put their foot on the ball. The Blaugrana controlled possession, moved the ball quickly, and tried to push Brighton deeper and deeper into their own half. And Barcelona didn't need to wait long to create the first big moment. In the 6th minute, Patri Guijarro produced a beautiful pass for Esmee Brugts. Esmee took advantage of the opportunity and finished brilliantly. A beautiful combination between Patri and Esmee, and Barcelona had the perfect start. But even though Barcelona were controlling the game, I still saw some problems that could become important against stronger opponents. The first one is the right-back position. For me, Barcelona need to find a solution there. Aïcha Cámara worked hard, but offensively she didn't give Barcelona enough in the first half. And that created another problem because Caroline Graham-Hansen wasn't getting enough support offensively. When Caroline receives the ball, you want her to have options. You want overlaps. You want combinations. You want defenders to be afraid of what is happening on that side. But when the right side isn't providing enough support, too much responsibility falls on Caroline. And against the very best teams in Europe, that can become a problem. Another player I want to mention is Martina Fernández. Martina has many qualities, but for me, her speed is something she needs to continue working on. And this is especially important because Barcelona already have defenders who aren't known for having incredible pace. Against teams that attack quickly in transition, Barcelona cannot afford to have too many slow defenders. That could become a serious problem against the strongest teams. The midfield and attack. Another player who didn't really stand out to me in the first half was Vicky López. She looked relatively quiet and didn't have the same influence that we've seen from her before. On the other hand, Sydney Schertenleib kept fighting and trying to make things happen. But the two players who really caught my attention were Clàudia Pina and Caroline Graham-Hansen. Pina is becoming a much more dangerous player when she has freedom, and that's something I really like. Don't keep Pina in one specific position. Let her move. Let her come into midfield to help Barcelona escape pressure. Then let her move higher up the pitch and attack the spaces. When Pina is allowed to move everywhere, she becomes much harder for defenders to control. And then there is Caroline. For me, Caroline is starting to look more and more like the Caroline we remember, especially when it comes to her finishing. Last season, there were several moments when she would get into a great position, shoot, and the ball would go straight at the goalkeeper, over the goal, or wide. But this season, I'm seeing something different. She's starting to hit her shots better. Her dribbling is also starting to look more like the Caroline we saw around 2021. And if she can return to that level consistently, Barcelona are going to be extremely dangerous. Now, the second half is where things became much more interesting. The name that really stayed in my head was McCamey, Barcelona's goalkeeper. Because honestly, without her, this game could have ended very differently. She made important saves and kept Barcelona alive when Brighton started creating dangerous opportunities. And this is something Barcelona need to pay attention to, because Brighton showed that they can compete. In the second half, Brighton started playing much higher up the pitch. They pressed Barcelona aggressively, and suddenly, Barcelona looked uncomfortable. The Blaugrana struggled to find solutions against the pressure. The passing became less clean. The team lost some control, and Brighton started believing that they could really hurt Barcelona. And that's probably the biggest lesson from this match. Barcelona can dominate when they have time and space. But when an opponent presses aggressively and doesn't allow them to play comfortably, Barca needs to find solutions much faster.